everyone, it's Derek with OPTP. Today, as part of our spring training video series, we're going to look at 3 excellent exercises to help strengthen the psoas. Now, we're going to take these exercises out of the Psoas book by Eric Franklin of the Franklin Method. So why is it important for us to focus on the psoas? Well, first of all, it is a critical core muscle that's responsible for all sorts of things, including to help stabilize the low back and pelvis and create hip flexion. The psoas originates from T12 of the spine all the way through the lumbar vertebrae, crosses over the pubic bone, goes down and attaches at the minor trochanter of the femur. Now, oftentimes when this area of the body is weak, we can experience things like lordosis of the low back, increased tension in other muscles of the quadriceps, and even things like shallow breathing. So today, the hope is that through these exercises, we create more balance around the low back and the pelvis in the inner core to help improve every other aspect of our health and of our fitness. Let's get started. Okay, so each one of these exercises are going to be done on the floor. I've got a mat here, and I'm going to be using the Franklin smooth balls. Now, these are roughly 4 inches in diameter and just have this wonderful feel and texture. And as we're lying supine, we're going to be positioning these under the pelvis so that we can increase some proprioceptive kind of feedback coming in regarding the pelvic positioning, and also help increase sort of the internal awareness of that psoas major muscle. Okay, the first exercise we're going to visit is just some alternating hip flexion. So I'm going to take my Franklin smooth balls here and position them under my pelvis to where I am put in just a slight posterior pelvic tilt. Now, once you're in position here, we're going to lift the feet up off the floor. And again, you might have to adjust the smooth balls there to accommodate the pelvis and put you in that slight tilt. Now, this feels wonderful. It's going to help create the proprioceptive sort of input that I'm getting regarding my position in space, and also really help me focus on activating that psoas. So once you're in position here, we're just going to let the hands gently rest. Now, there's a number of cues we want to be mindful of here as we're engaging in this exercise. So first, the basic movement is going to be to alternate, slowly lowering one leg, maintaining knee flexion, tapping toe to the floor, and bringing it back up. We're going to want to be mindful of our breathing here, so breathing nice and easy. Now, regarding the abdomen and the hip flexors, you're going to want to make sure that nothing is catching or gripping. So if you feel that tenseness take place across the stomach or into the hip flexors, or even you feel yourself moving into some anterior pelvic tilt, you're going to want to avoid tapping your toe to the floor and only bringing it down low enough to where you don't feel those muscles start to catch. Next, we're going to want to be mindful of the low back just sort of melting into the floor. Again, the abdomen is relaxed, the pelvis is just resting with gravity. And last and most important here, you're going to want to be mindful of really focusing on pulling that femur up into the hip socket with every repetition. After about 12 repetitions on each side, you can then try, instead of just tapping the toe to the floor, bringing the foot flat to the floor, and then bringing it back up and going for another 10 to 12 repetitions right there. Okay, next, with the Franklin smooth balls in the exact same position, we're going to engage in a single leg lowering exercise. So all the repetitions are going to take place on one side of the body this time, and then we'll switch sides. So pick which side you want to start on. The side that's going to remain less active, we're just going to fold the fingers, bring them over the leg there, and just hold the knee flexed in position. We're going to take the working side here and extend the knee straight. So we're kind of vertical here. Now the idea, the basic movement is going to be to let that leg lower down to where we're not feeling the hip flexors or abdomen catch, bring it back in as we flex the knee, extend to vertical, and repeat. Now, all those cues that were kind of moved through during the first exercise remain true here. We're going to want to make sure we're breathing. We're going to want to make sure we're not feeling a lot of tightness or engagement across the abdomen. We're going to want to make sure that the low back is moving down towards the earth, the pelvis is just in a nice, relaxed position with gravity, and that we're really focusing on pulling that femur up into the hip socket here. After you move through 7 or 8 repetitions on one side, you can switch and do the other side. Now, one last important thing, if you do feel as you descend that the muscles across the front of the leg or the abdomen are starting to grip, or you feel your pelvis actually start to tilt in an anterior direction, you're going to want to stop right there and not move past that range of motion. Okay, the third and final exercise is called double leg lowering. So I'm in the same position. I've got my Franklin smooth balls position underneath the pelvis here. I'm in a slight posterior pelvic tilt. I'm nice and relaxed. I'm breathing easy. I'm breathing gently as I let the feet drop towards the floor, maintaining flexion in those knees. Again, I'm very mindful of not letting anything catch across the front of the legs or the abdomen here. Now, as I'm engaging in this exercise, I want to be mindful again of pulling the femur up into the hip socket to really activate the psoas. So we can move through this exercise 10 to 12 times. Again, nice and slow and controlled, and really methodical, and really feeling those Franklin smooth balls also challenging our stability here. After 10 to 12 repetitions, and this actually goes for any of these exercises, you can take a short break, stretch out the legs, and notice any differences that you feel in that lumbo-pelvic-hip region. But 10 to 12 times here at a minimum, and then we will be finished. All right, everyone, thanks so much for watching. If you want to learn more about the Franklin Method Smooth Balls or the Psoas book by Eric Franklin, just go to optp.com. It's really important to note that the 3 movements that we covered today are just sort of scratching the surface of all the wonderful content that is in this book. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.